If you run a business such as a warehouse, a steel mill, or you're a construction general contractor, or really any place where people work in the heat, you need to watch this video. On April 10th, 2026, OSHA officially relaunched and updated its National Emphasis Program on Heat. That's a formal, targeted inspection program, and it means OSHA inspectors are actively looking for employers who aren't protecting workers from heat-related illness. The good news, if you know what you're looking for, you can get ahead of it, and that's exactly what we're going to break down today. So what is a National Emphasis Program, or NEP? Think of it like OSHA putting a giant highlighter on a specific hazard. It means inspectors across the country are specifically trained and directed to go looking for it, not just when someone files a complaint, but proactively. The Heat NEP covers 4 major sectors: general industry, which is warehouses, manufacturing, and food processing; construction, which is any and all outdoor building work; maritime, which is ports, shipyards, and docks; and agriculture, which is all farming, ranching, and crop support. The program targets both outdoor and indoor workplaces. So if you have furnaces, boilers, hot kitchens, or any radiant heat source inside your building, you're on that list too. And this isn't a short-term effort. This program runs for up to 5 years. OSHA has built a specific list of 55 industries they're going to target first. Read the official document to see if your industry is impacted. Here's the key trigger. OSHA will schedule inspections on any day the National Weather Service issues a heat warning or advisory for your area. That's not a maybe, that's a green light for inspectors to show up. And there's another trigger most employers don't know about. Inspectors are literally instructed to pull over and stop at outdoor work sites they drive past on hot days if they see conditions that require them. No complaint required. So let's say an inspector shows up. What are they going to do? First, they'll check your OSHA 300 and 301 logs, your injury and illness records, specifically looking for any heat-related entries going back 3 years. They'll also interview your workers directly, not just supervisors, the workers themselves. Lastly, they'll measure or reconstruct the heat index for the day, and they may use a wet bulb globe temperature instrument if they have one. That's a more precise measurement of how heat, humidity, and sun combine to affect the human body. Most of the time, distant public weather station readings are the best historical record available to inspectors, so it's important to have your own on-site method for measuring and recording heat index and WBGT like a Perry weather station. If they find violations, they'll cite you under OSHA's General Duty Clause, which is the catch-all standard that says employers must provide a workplace free from recognized hazards. There's currently no specific heat standard at the federal level, but that general duty citation can still come with significant penalties. Now here's the most important part of this video. OSHA has published exactly what a good heat program looks like. This is your roadmap. Number 1, water, rest, and shade. This is the foundation. Cool drinking water must be readily accessible in a location that's accessible to workers. Rest breaks need to be scheduled, shade or cool areas must be available, and NIOSH recommends a cup of water every 15 minutes during hot work. Number 2, acclimatization. This is the one most employers miss. When a new employee starts or when a worker comes back from time off, don't throw them into heavy outdoor work on day 1. You need to gradually increase their exposure and workload over 7 to 14 days. OSHA specifically watches for this with new hires and workers returning from leave. Number 3, training. Workers and supervisors need to know the signs and symptoms of heat illness, which are heat cramps and heat exhaustion and heat stroke, what to do when someone shows these symptoms, how to call for emergency help, and that certain medications and health conditions increase heat risk. Number 4, a written heat program. It doesn't have to be a 50-page document, but you need something that shows OSHA your heat safety process is intentional and communicated, not improvised when something bad happens. Number 5, a designated heat safety person. Someone at your worksite should be responsible for monitoring conditions and making calls when heat gets dangerous. Number 6, administrative controls. This means scheduling the hardest physical work for cooler parts of the day, using work rest schedules, and reducing physical demands when it's extremely hot. Start shifts earlier when possible. Number 7, engineering controls. Add shade structures, cooling fans, air conditioning in break areas, insulation on hot surfaces, or ventilation near heat sources. There's a few things that will get you put on OSHA's follow-up list. A worker hospitalized for heat illness, a fatality, a previous inspection where you received serious violations that haven't been fully corrected, and any heat-related complaint filed by a worker. Okay, here's something that doesn't get talked about enough, and it could be the difference between winning and losing an OSHA inspection. When an inspector comes to your site, whether it's the day of an incident or weeks later, they need to establish what the heat conditions actually were like on that day. And here's how they do it when they don't have your data. They go to public weather records, NOAA, or the nearest airport's weather stations. Think about that for a second. The nearest official weather station to your job site could be miles away in a totally different microclimate. That data could be an hour old by the time it's posted, and if your data doesn't exist, Theirs is the only story. This is where PeriWeather changes the game entirely. PeriWeather puts a professional grade weather station on your site and it's recording conditions automatically around the clock. But here's what makes it specifically powerful for heat stress compliance. It measures both heat index and WBGT, or wet bulb globe temperature. We mentioned WBGT earlier as the gold standard OSHA uses to assess heat risk. It also records every 5 minutes and stores the data automatically. No manual logging, no one on your team having to remember to write something down. Every reading is time-stamped and stored, and you can export it as a report with a few clicks. PeriWeather also automates your work-rest cycle decisions. Instead of a supervisor trying to eyeball whether it's too hot, PeriWeather ties your actual heat readings, PPE, and work intensity directly to your heat safety policy. When the weather exceeds your heat policy, PeriWeather will send a message to your workers to take a water break or a rest break. Think about what that means in an OSHA inspection. You can show the inspector not just what the conditions were, but that your system detected the hazard and sent your team a notification to act on it. That's a documented, proactive protection. So let's bring it all together. OSHA's Heat NEP is active, it's national, and it's targeting your industry on any day the thermometer spikes. They will show up without warning, they will interview your workers, they will reconstruct conditions, and they will cite you under the general duty clause if they find gaps. But if you've built a real heat program, water, rest, shade, climatization, training, a written plan, and an on-site monitoring system that documents conditions automatically, you're not just checking boxes, you're protecting the people on your team from something that kills dozens of workers every year, and you're doing it with receipts. The link for PeriWeather is in the description. If you're serious about getting ahead of heat season this year, that's where I'd start.